What is it's Danny Limelight, and I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt under Roberto Traven. She is a female. She kicks all types of butt and is the founder of Thunderbird Fitness. She's the one and only Denise Houle. Denise, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. Even better to have you here. This is so amazing. And we were kind of talking off air. You are the first Jiu-Jitsu black belt that I've ever podcasted with.
I feel very honored. I do.
Well, the honor is all mine. And we already got the people chiming in.
Oh, no.
Saying, "Look, Professor Denise, what? Yes, I got her." I was so excited to share on the podcast last week that, like, I didn't want to let it out until I knew for sure we were doing this, right? And then I kind of let the cat out of the bag with one of your
Diane.
Students, Diane, absolutely. That I was like, "Oh, you're talking about her?" And guess what, Lakeisha before? Well, guess what? I secured her. So I had Lakeisha one Saturday. Gosh, why am I blanking on her name?
Diane.
Diane, of course, Diane. And then now you. So it's a nice little trifecta. So shout out to Lakeisha, shout out to Diane and Thirsty Fighter. This is great.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm following in good footsteps.
Absolutely. And they follow your footsteps because, again, that you are a part of their lineage. You know, Lakeisha as a blue, Diane in her kind of exploration in jiu-jitsu, but they followed in your footsteps. You know, that's super, super cool.
Yes. I'm very proud of them. I mean, they're very good. If I couldn't ask for better representation. I mean, that's what you want as a leader, to have other people that are becoming leaders. And I mean, both of them are very good examples of that.
No, 1000%. And it literally exudes out of them their excitement and love and obsessed for for jiu-jitsu, and they're very accomplished. Lakeisha is in the medical field. Diane is a marketing genius, a guru, and still they found that zest for jiu-jitsu. They've been successful in other things and they want to do jiu-jitsu. Nobody's forcing them to do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And then they found your loving arms and embrace and rear naked chokes.
Yes, and they paid for it. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, but is it? I mean, to find out what you love and figure out a way to get paid for it. That's what I found out from my dad. So it's something that you're able to do. So shout out to you.
Yeah, for sure. And then they're paying to have it done, to get choked, which is the crazy part too, right?
Yes,
absolutely. We pay for this. Yeah.
And I mean, we've got Dana Castillo. Hey,
Dana.
Professor.
Hey, Dana. Another fine example of a great student, Dana Castillo.
Shout out to Dana.
Shout out, Dana.
And then, I mean, Extra Extreme is shouting it all the way out.
I know who this is now. I'm not going to give out the name, because I think trying to stay on the down low.
Okay, right on. And then Carol Barnwell at Carol.
We had a little self-defense seminar with Miss Carol at Keisha's apartment. She learned a little bit of self-defense one day. We tried. Yeah.
Well, it's brilliant. I mean, at the end of the day, a little bit goes a long way, right?
Sure does. Hey, Carol.
And Pamela Sawyer says,
hey, Pam. Everybody's chiming in.
Everybody's chiming in, yeah. And again, Lakeisha Williams, we mentioned her, but she says, "Hey, Professor Denise, I love you." Oh, just hugs about. And
love you, Keisha.
Absolutely. And shout out to Keisha, because the graphic that is basically used to promote this very podcast was done by the warm and loving hands of Lakeisha Williams. She set that all up, didn't she? The
Yeah,
graphic?
she's very talented. She has done a sketch of me. She did a sketch of several other people on the team of Master Traven. She's very talented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And then she has, of course, I get the secondary hello. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Hi, Adam. Right on. That's all
You gotta
right.
get the black belt to get the primary.
Yeah,
No,
this
I
is
was
true.
kidding.
This is true. 100%. So, I mean, obviously, you're a black belt now, right? But
Mhm.
what was it that led you to jujitsu?
Well, the story is actually pretty similar to a lot of stories that I've heard from other women that I got introduced to cardio kickboxing first. So a friend of mine said, "Hey, I've got a friend who opened up a kickboxing gym. It's new. You should check it out." I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to punch things, right? Something I'd love to do." So I went and checked it out, and I enrolled in the kickboxing program. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I saw this thing going on in the other room. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I didn't have any interest in it at all. I have, space issues, hygiene. I have things with germs. So I looked, I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay over here and punch this bag. The Muay Thai instructor, the lady that was teaching the cardio kickboxing, kept asking, "Oh, come try jiu-jitsu. We don't have many girls, and we could use somebody. I think you'd be really good at it." Okay, and after a month of her coercion, I tried it, and after the first class, I mean, they threw me into the first class I was rolling. I had no idea what I was doing, but that's what got me hooked. I mean, the adrenaline from the roll, the sparring, I was hooked. I was like, "Oh, what? I don't know what this is, but I'm coming back." And I bought the gi, and I haven't stopped. I
Wow.
mean, yeah, that's how it started. Obviously, there's been, a lot in between. This was almost 12 years ago.
Yeah, and that's a crazy thing because now, and it's an awesome thing. We're seeing more everybody, more
Mhm.
children, more men, more women, more girls, training jujitsu or other martial arts. But I mean, less than 20 years ago, it wasn't in vogue. I mean, still,
Mhm.
in terms of MMA, I still have to convince people that it is like Invicta is a thing, and it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite promotions because even after Ronda Rousey, even after Chris Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, who's essentially the
Mhm.
queen of the world in terms of MMA, and not just MMA, but also in jiu-jitsu. You've got, I mean, Nikki Sullivan. There's
Mhm.
big names of people that make their sole income from just doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. But again, 12 years ago when you started, that wasn't the case.
No, as a matter of fact, the first world's tournament that I went to, the brown and the black belt, the female brown and black belt divisions were still combined. I think that was the last year. And after that, they had their own separate divisions, but brown and black belt still competed against each other.
What?
Yeah. So I've definitely it's really grown over the past 12 years. I mean, just so much. There was so few female competitors when we started. So it's great to see so many girls.
Yeah,
It is awesome.
absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of unheard of, right? Browns
Mhm.
and blacks kind of, like nowadays, right? I guess if you use, relevancy or relatability bias, it's just like that would never happen, Usually blacks, reputable black belts would tear through brown belts, right?
Right.
And, just the fact that them competing together, it just kind of shows
The
how
divisions were small.
yes, and how the growth of the sport has
Mhm.
done in less than 20 years.
Yeah. And not only the growth of women's jiu-jitsu, but also the growth of masters women. So I happen to be not an adult in the adult division, not in, some of the divisions that some of the higher names are in, but in the masters division alone over the past 5 years, how much it's grown and how many more females over the age of 30 have entered into jiu-jitsu as well. Is pretty amazing.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Now, Lisa Huron says that, hey, Denise. Yeah,
Hey, Akeisha's mom.
there you go. Shout out to Miss
Mm-hmm.
Lisa. And then Don McGuire saying, Professor, even though you're a black belt now, um, he says that the analogy of the heart of a white belt plays its relevance, through your walk and teaching, doesn't it?
Yes, of course. I mean, you're going to always hear me speak about you're never too good to be doing basic drilling. And yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, a white belt, a black belt is a white belt that never quits. And, you think, but when you're a white belt, when you look at black belts, I remember this, you look at black belts, like you think that they know everything. And then when you actually get to black belt, you realize like there's still so much to learn. And you wouldn't expect that. Maybe at white belt, you wouldn't think that. But then it's also the beauty of it that you still get to keep learning. So that never ends.
No, absolutely. Which to
Mm-hmm.
which Pam Sawyer says, "You
Mm-hmm.
are the most dedicated person to your craft." Hashtag Denise. Which
Mm-hmm.
that methodology of a black belt is somebody who is a white belt that never quit, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
always continue to learn, right? And
Yes.
that's kind of the fundamental trait of I mean, not just jujitsu, but other martial arts, but it is something that is absolutely transferable to everyday life.
To life. Yes. You're going to have, I mean, jiu-jitsu and the life lessons, there's so many, and how they work together. There's so many ups and downs in jiu-jitsu too. It's not all it's not an easy grind those 12 years to get, or not 12 years, it didn't take me, but it's not easy. And neither is life. So as long as you keep showing up to either, you're gonna keep progressing.
Absolutely. In a previous year where things were the craziest, not just here in the States, but worldwide, there was I mean, COVID kind of hit everybody, and it hit
Mm-hmm.
everybody different, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and what have you, right? But I mean, by comparison, I mean, I'm sure you've seen worse years in jujitsu, like what in your formative years where there wasn't a lot of people training, or you
Mm-hmm.
would get literally manhandled by some of your training partners who were bigger in size and maybe more skill as you're coming up through the belt ranks and what have
Mm-hmm.
you, and you just had to keep on showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. There were days that you go in and you walk out, and definitely I walked out crying, everything. I mean, just wondering if I wanted to go back, just feeling horrible about it. Horrible about my jiu-jitsu. Then there's days that you would walk out on top of the world, feeling like you could, just beat anybody. So yeah.
Absolutely, and it's for me it's fun, right? Because like I didn't even know that jujitsu existed. I came around way later. Like most people will credit, you know, Hoist Gracie in the UFC is why they either started training in MMA, watching MMA, doing jujitsu, all of it. But I grew up a fan of pro wrestling, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was Dan the Beast Severn, who is a early UFC alum, UFC Hall of Famer, but he was a wrestler through and through. I don't think I mean, I saw like some of his first fights. I don't think he ever punched really, right? He just grappled everyone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that kind of idea of like putting on a gi and whatever, that was foreign to me until I actually started training, right? So
Yeah.
what was your knowledge of grappling before you started actually training?
Nothing. Really
Really?
nothing. I mean, wrestling, WWE. I watched with my dad as a kid. Like, and this was, I'll show my age, like way back, Ric Flair, way back
Woo!
when. Okay. So
Woo!
yeah. And now, that's really all I knew. And then maybe karate from the Karate Kid, but I didn't know anything, nothing about grappling. However, I always like to fight, and not meaning like, recklessly fighting, but something in me There's just something in me that always enjoyed confrontation, whatever. Something about that, the adrenaline. So it's a good way to channel that energy too. So it was very fitting. Surprisingly, like I just can't even believe it now. How if I looked at 30 years ago, would I have seen myself? No.
But that's the cool thing, right? You turned a negative into a positive. You were speaking earlier about kind of being a germaphobe. When you first started,
for sure.
And you think about everything, right? Like all of your social constructs. I'm not going to let anybody sweat on me. I'm not going to let anybody bleed on me. Like if a drool comes out their mouth, the hell I'm going to catch it with my mouth. But it all happens. Like all
everything
of that, out the window, you know, and
you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's jiu-jitsu. It's all right.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why. It's crazy because if I'm in the airplane and someone's sneezing, I'm like getting in my hoodie. I'm like, who is in here with that? No, I'll do the same if you come into the gym doing that. But I don't know. It's just certain things you make exceptions for because the love of it. You just can't even explain it. It's hard to explain.
It is. So, I mean, what was the, obviously we were kind of talking about like, the fight to win. There's these big money tournaments, Abu Dhabi and what have you. But what was your first tournament experience like? And at what point did that occur?
Well, it was a wreck. Honestly. So it happened 6 months in. I trained for 6 months as a white belt. I'm like, I'm ready to do. And I was with a team that was competing. So, when you join a gym and you have other people competing around you, it's easy to get involved in it. So everybody's like going to the tournaments. They're so excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this too. So I signed up and we were primarily training in the gi. I think we did like no gi maybe once a week. So I did a no gi tournament. It's all that they have. I'm like, I'm in, I'm going to do it. And I go do it. I'm so nervous. I've never been so nervous in my life. And I go out and my ego definitely got the better of me. I did well. I won. However, I got caught in an arm bar. I didn't tap. My arm popped many times, at least 6 times, because I was stubborn. I didn't want to lose. I remember even saying, no, I'm not tapping. I'm not going out my first match like this, and that was a big lesson learned. I ended up winning my division that day. I had 2 more matches. I got off the mat, wrapped it up with an ace bandage. I remember my partner that I was with at the time was furious at me when I was going. And I go again, I win. I was upset I couldn't do the open, but I ended up going home. I still want to do the open, but I shredded everything. Like my arm was shredded. I couldn't train for 2 months. It was really the stupidest thing I've ever done. Hindsight. Big lessons.
But theoretically speaking, if it's the dumbest thing that you ever done, right? To get it out of the way, the first competition,
maybe the dumbest.
Okay, but even still, right? Yeah. But theoretically speaking, you got all the dumb-ish out of the way, and then you can basically absorb. Yeah.
Yeah, had a few more stubborn streaks, probably, but I think that's really cool. Now when I see white belts and they're always hurt, I go, I know why, because when they don't rest, they just keep going back. I was trying to go back with my rib all messed up, like trying to shrimp down the mat, like trying to push it back in and tape it up. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like 40 years old. What am I doing? Like my rib is hurt, but I can't want to be there. Insanity.
It is, but it is insanity, right? It's something that you want to go to a place where you're going to be contorted and unceremoniously turned into a pretzel.
Yes.
And choked out within
possibly smashed. Yeah. Thrown around.
Yeah, and then you want more of it. It's
more.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? And,
I
and,
know.
and again, you're going through this metamorphosis in your own walk in life and in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. And then but you still have to deal in the real world. You still have like coworkers. I mean, I remember when I first started, luckily enough, I had one of my coworkers who is a brown. I mean, no, he was a blue belt at the time. He's a brown now, but we would go on our lunch break. We worked in a corporate atmosphere and whatever, and we would go for an hour lunch and do jujitsu. And I just remember coming back to the office and people are like, "Oh, you're doing that JiuJitsu, that Jew," and like would emphasize the Jew, and then they would start like karate chopping us because they saw the gi in our bag, and you're just like, that's not the way it goes. But
Please don't do that, please.
But I mean, what was the reaction? As you're going through this, like the people around you. You said that your partner at the time, she was like,
yeah,
what are you
and
doing?
I was getting hurt all the time. Really, I was having back issues, but I didn't want to stop. So there was frustration, legitimate frustration from her end. But I wasn't going to stop no matter what. I mean, honestly, and at the end of the day, that relationship ended, and thank God I had jiu-jitsu, and that was early on. And that was going to end regardless. But yeah, I mean, she didn't understand really, my mom definitely didn't understand. My mom never has like violence. She's just really upsets her. So she didn't understand. It's taken her many years. She came to a couple of tournaments and it was upsetting for her. People just didn't understand it, but I did have one friend that joined me in the beginning. He didn't end up continuing with it, but he got it. But a lot of people don't get it, unless you do it, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I didn't start training in jiu-jitsu, and I don't want to say it's a regret in life, but like I didn't start training jiu-jitsu or anything, even doing interviews and podcasts until after my parents had both passed away, because I didn't know what they would think. And, that was, I think, obviously in hindsight, right? Looking back at it now, that I was fear if I failed in front of them, that they're just like, you should quit, you should whatever, and then even with this, like my grandfather in Fiji, my maternal grandfather was the first broadcaster in Fiji, right? So that's a lot to take in, right? A lot of pressure. So kudos to you, even with your mom like, oh, I don't like this. And especially, let's kind of set the scene, right? There probably when you were taking your mom to competitions, right? It wasn't the point atmosphere, grab an acai bowl after, take a selfie with your opponent after, right? I mean, this is pretty as
it was like a naga.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, it's just a different level. That's what I'm going to say. It's a different level of grappling, we have different levels of tournaments. And yeah, she was we've had some experience. I mean, I can tell story after story after story of some nagas. We've had not only my parents, but several parents at nagas, and it always is interesting, either between the parents or the coaches.
Yeah, which I mean, it's funny because right before the quarantine and pandemic happened, like March 7th, I had enough money because I do this spurt deal where like I'll train hard for 6 months, not train for 2 years, and then hit it back. And we're talking like 5 to 7 sessions a week and everything like that. So this was my longest drought. I think it had been close to 3, bordering on 4 years. Since the last time I was training consistently. And I was like, yeah. And I found a 10 Planet affiliate, where I live. And that was it. The North American Grappling Association, NAGA, that's my set phasers to stun, because I, like you, grew up on pro wrestling, right? So medals, cool story, bro.
Yeah.
I want a belt. I want a belt.
I got a belt.
That's so great.
You need a belt.
Yes.
You need to do it.
Yeah. So and then literally like 4 days later, like the world as far as LA just kind of shut down, still hasn't returned. And I mean, I guess don't talk about Fight Club outside the Fight Club, some euphemism like
Right.
that. I mean, I know there's still jiu-jitsu going on. I just can't say where it's happening.
Right. We don't know where it's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So but I mean that's cool. And especially like what lessons, in those formative years of like, not just like competition training, but being in that static environment. That static environment that now it's it's so much different than it is now. But now, as a coach, you're kind of leading your own soldiers into battle, right? But it's not the same battle, right? There's the weapons and spoils of war are completely different now than they were when you first were competing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are different. One, the women's jiu-jitsu is bigger, and then jiu-jitsu is evolving all the time. So that's been changing, and you have to keep up with that. But I think, I don't know what I'm trying to say with this. Jiu-jitsu is evolving, but I think it's really important to just, guide people and women in jiu-jitsu. And that's been a big, important thing for me as a coach. So I'm not doing as much coaching anymore, but right now, currently, because I did recently move. But being able to help people with jiu-jitsu, I think, there's a difference between instructors and coaches. And I think the world needs a lot more coaches than they need instructors, because anybody can teach jiu-jitsu techniques. And there's a lot of people instructing. I think we definitely need to help build up, in the communities, coaches, and encourage leadership in the right way. So there's a lot of good changes that's happened in jiu-jitsu over the years. There's a lot of things that come with jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of culture that comes with jiu-jitsu that not all of it's good. And I think that over the years, as it's been in America too, that it's been able to change some of that culturally. So I just think that the continued evolution of coaching is important. I guess what I'm really want to say.
Yeah, no, I agree, because that's so fun, right? About like combat sports, right? Especially in terms of competition, right? Well, I mean, jiu-jitsu is kind of different because like, in MMA, you could not be a fighter, right? You can not be a fighter and be an amazing coach, right? You can, or even be a fighter with a losing record, but you kind of turn it around into your fighting prowess in the vein of your students, and it turns around, right? It's almost like Jimmy Carter, right? Kind of a weird,
right?
Like one-term president, but then out of office, he creates,
all these leaders.
Yeah, all these leaders, Habitat for Humanity, building homes for homeless people, and all that jazz, and everything is kind of restored, right? But like with jiu-jitsu, you absolutely need that support, right? You need somebody that will walk into battle with you that has been through the battles themselves. You need a general.
Right. And I think, it definitely for the long term too, because it's if you're in it for the black belt, that's a long time. It's not, the jiu-jitsu is the longest. I believe that it takes the longest to earn a black belt. It took me 9 years. That was with pretty consistent training and not a lot of time off. So, whoever's coaching you is with you for a long time. And, I think, people go through a lot of different changes in life too, but yeah, coaching, I think that's been a goal of mine is, and I would have never seen myself as a coach in jiu-jitsu 30 years ago, or as a matter of fact, a coach in anything, but I just happen to really like it a lot. And I feel really passionate about helping people. and not for any finance. And I think that's probably why I'm passionate about it. It's just not for finances, financial reasons. Of course, you know, I need to make a living. But when I think about coaching people or I think about jiu-jitsu, I don't think about the monetary value.
Wait, you mean to tell me, as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, you're not a multimillionaire?
No, right?
Living on South Beach?
No.
That's why you moved to Florida, right?
I spend thousands to travel to compete. Still. So no, so it's just purely passion. However, it's changed my life so much. And I truly believe that it's not, people say jiu-jitsu is for everybody. I don't believe that. I think everybody can do jiu-jitsu if they want to, but I don't believe it's for everybody. But if I can help, you know, anybody, if I can change anybody's life through it, which I believe I have, then I feel like I've done something. And, you know, when I was in my early 20s, I don't even think, or 30s, I don't think I ever even thought about that of anything in my life. It's probably very selfish and just thought about myself. And, you know, it's amazing how things change, because now I'm thinking about, you know, what I can do for the community and what I can do for other people.
No, 1000%. And especially the fact that, I mean, you're not wrong, right? Because, you know, as we, you know, it was funny because I was having a conversation with my 13-year-old, and he kind of got it, right? And he was just like, you know, us kids, we kind of want to be adults because we think that you guys are absolutely free, right? You guys can do whatever you want, stay up at turn the TV on if you want to. But, I mean, he kind of got like, oh, wait, you have to pay bills, all that jazz and whatever. And that's that's kind of where we all kind of get to, jiu-jitsu or not, right?
Yeah.
Survive, right? It's like your first round or your first 6-minute round in jiu-jitsu. You're just trying to survive. You're trying to not die,
Right.
And that's kind of where, like, you know, it breeds this kind of animalistic type kind of construct in our minds that, like, we have to feel like dog eat dog, and I'm gonna screw you out of a position, and I'm gonna have the nice fancy desk with my name on it and a placard and what have you. And you know, like, you're not wrong for thinking about that, right? But you know, at some point, like, it will change where, like, I'm a, you know, a person in a larger community, a small part in a larger community, and like that community needs my experience, my tact, my wherewithal.
Right. And I think when you feel how jiu-jitsu affects your life, or how it actually how it helps it, then it's easy to share that. It's easy to be passionate about that. And then again, seeing it happen for other people is just life-changing. You know, when you go, oh, I understand it, but now I've got all these other people that understand it too. And there's that bond with those other people that's not like bonds. You know, it creates bonds with people too that are unbreakable. Like, you're literally giving them the power of taking your life in their own hands, and it could be a stranger, which is even crazy. But that when you roll with them, like, you're allowing someone to have power over your limbs and your body. You know, it's
intense.
Yeah, it's intense, but I've definitely created friendships and bonds through that. Like, you know, some pretty, you know, intense ones that I've always been pretty much a loner, had a small circle of people, but with jiu-jitsu found a group of people, like-minded people that are just as crazy. So
yeah,
right.
Crazy people over here.
Right, crazy people over here.
And the extra extremes has all fun aside, you know, training under Professor Denise has been and will continue to be a permanently life-changing experience. So I'm just saying.
Thank you. I mean, that's so nice. You know, I'm really glad I can affect people's lives like that, because when you show up and you're just doing your job, you don't know. You know, you really don't. I mean, you can see it, but it's nice to know.
No, absolutely.
And my students are very kind, very loyal. I mean, and I've moved and we're not together, and still, that's what I mean. That bond doesn't change over landscape.
Yes, those are unforshakable bonds, which Alicia says, "Hey, Professor Denise."
Hey, Shy.
And
She loves my warm-ups, by the way.
she does.
No, she hates them.
Oh, like
I probably scared her away from jiu-jitsu.
I mean, warm-ups are, can have me like.
That was the scariest part, was getting through the warm. I used to sit in the car going, I gotta go in there and roll and crawl like really fast and keep up with everybody. Like super. That's the most intimidating part, I think.
Oh my goodness. There was one warm-up where like I was like jump roping and whatever, and like the advanced class they were doing like almost like back rolls and then backflip, and I'm just like I'm not made of jelly. Like I can't what are we doing? And I kind of half did it, and I also like crotched myself. So
You gotta have face planted.
No, I mean my genitals hit me right in the head.
God.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that, what they're always so afraid of the warm up, and I think it's for now. I take it for granted. I really take it for granted because to me, it's absolutely, it's like nothing to do sit throughs, any of that stuff. And I have to remember that either whether it's when I'm training people for fitness, which is a whole nother topic, or in the jiu-jitsu, you're like, okay, these are new people are new. They haven't been doing this for 12 years. Their bodies aren't used to doing this. It's give them a little slack.
Yeah, a little slack. Well, but your influence has not just permeated your students, not just your clients at Thunderbird Fitness, but also the family of such people, like Miss Lisa, who says you're an awesome woman and coach to my daughter, Lakeisha. We all love you. Keep up the good works. And again, hello, Mr. Woods. So there's one for me. But thank you, Miss Lisa. That's amazing. I mean, how does that make you feel? That's pretty cool. As a learner,
it makes me feel good. I don't understand it, but it makes me feel good. I wondered, how that was going to be moving down here, because I did leave. I moved to Florida from Atlanta and left a state where I have a lot of people that loved me, trusted me. I have built, my reputation, my brand there. And it's pretty scary coming to another state because I didn't know, if I would be taken the same here. And some people are starting to gravitate towards my ways already. So yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm sucked in. But I'm always like with Keisha and all those ladies and those people up there, no matter what. In my mind, I'm always their coach, whether I'm there or not. Things happen in life, and sometimes we have to move on and change. But I will always be there for them, no matter what. They know that. And if I can coach them, I'll still coach them. If they want to call me and talk about jiu-jitsu problems, I'm going to listen, or other problems. Yeah. Not just jiu-jitsu. And it's again like close to their families too. Keisha's family loves me and I love them.
Yeah. To which he says, I definitely second Miss Lisa. So that's good because Miss Lisa's your mom, Lakeisha. So just
right. We need mom's approval.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we obviously didn't get it.
Right. One day.
One day. Yeah, absolutely. And Embody over on YouTube says, is it like karate?
I'm going to kick your butt.
She means it. And
I know, right?
And says,
similar pajamas,
that is
much
facts.
heavier.
Much heavier, yes. Like
gi.
Training in gi in the wintertime is amazing. Training in the summer, especially when you were in Georgia, now Florida. Like, get that.
I know. Yeah, I have a few of them. I'm like, this one's not going to work here ever. It's too hot and never. Yeah. It's crazy. And that thing will be, again, you got to love jiu-jitsu. You got to love it because it gets really hot, really sweaty.
Oh, no, 100%. And Local Lobo Alan Roque, who's going to be on the show later. He says, "Woof, woof, woof."
Oh, yeah.
It brings the inner animal.
Yes.
And James West wants to know: can you eat barbecue before jiu-jitsu?
Well, I think James likes to eat pizza before weigh-ins, so I don't know. Boom.
Shots fired! Boom!
He already knows the question about pizza, so I'm gonna say no to barbecue too.
Okay. Oh,
James says he's, like, it's one of those learning phases, trying to cut weight. And has to weigh in the next day. I was wondering why I was, having problems getting the weight off. I was like, well, what did you eat today? Pizza. I was like, oh, well, that probably wasn't the pizza, was it?
yeah, might be. I mean, and not that anybody's asking, but I will also say, in addition to pizza and barbecue, but I will also say Mexican food. Do you
Yes.
eat Mexican food? I was running late, like coming from work or whatever, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna grab a burrito, chomp it down, and I did all protein. I got all of the meats and all of the whatever, all killer, no filler, whatever. And I got neon bellied by a brown belt. Wasn't pretty.
Not a nice night. Yeah, we've all had nights like that. We've had those. Yeah, that's really nice. James, love you.
Love you too, my brother. And Fonda Howland says, I'm not a student, but Denise is my sister-in-law. And y'all know that she means so much to you. She's much more than a professor. She is one of the best-hearted, awesome women I'll ever meet.
Thank you, Fonda. Love you. Thank you very much. I didn't know I was going to have so many people chiming in today.
I think this. Okay, so I will let the cat out of the bag. And I told Lakeisha too, because this is absolutely true. The last time that I had, before Lakeisha and before you, this many interactions on a live, was none other than Josh Barnett. So.
Oh, okay.
So you have similar levels of popularity than Josh Barnett. So congratulations, Denise.
All right, I feel amazing now.
Well, you may not, because Keisha wants to know. Ask her about her nickname, D Nasty. So
it's because I'm very nice on the mat. That's my mat name. It can be it's either D Nasty or D Nice. Now, I have a style that's, pretty aggressive. So that's where that comes from, D Nasty. And that's usually competition. I try to, I was a little rougher in the blue or purple belt days, but I've toned it down. But I'm known for my pressure on top. So I got the nickname D Nasty. That's where it comes from.
Right on. Yeah, and Extra Extreme loves that Keisha brought that up. So
I accidentally put John to sleep one day doing technique. He didn't tell me. I'm showing a choke, and I've got pressure. I don't even remember what choke it was. And I look over, and his eyes are doing something weird. And I asked him later. He's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did go to sleep for a minute." I'm like, "Why didn't you say anything?" So like 2 or 3 times that's happened, and that's what you said. People are intimidated by. They won't say anything.
Yeah.
They won't say a word.
Yeah.
Or you'll walk up every time. And now this is me too. This has happened to me every time with my professor. I'll be doing the move. I would be doing the move so well all throughout the whole time. And then he would come up and I would just do it so wrong. And he'd be like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know what it is." Same thing happens to them. I walk up and they're like, crazy stuff happens. Like, "What's happening?" I'm just standing here to help you. And they're like, "I can't do anything."
Which, I mean, he says it was so peaceful and gentle. He needed that extra nap. He's a hard worker.
Right?
Extra Extreme. It's a hard worker. So
hey, he's a good Yuki. He just lays there and lets it happen.
And like he said, Adam, you should feel her top pressure. It's nasty. I'm still trying to learn the secret. How about this, Keisha? How about I don't and say
all right,
because I ain't stupid enough. is what I'm saying. But I mean, do you have a secret?
We're too
You're scared to say anything about that top pressure. Shout out to Dana.
You know, I tried to tell them. I just can't explain it. It's just, you know, it's something I learned probably with having a one roll with guys all the time in the beginning, because when I started, like, we had a little bit of a women's team that I would train with on the weekends, but the primary gym that I was training with at the time was mostly men, and they were larger. And I had to do whatever it took to try to keep them down, especially if I got a dominant position, to try to keep it. Because, you know, being small, you get to the sign and then you have somebody large, they can literally like chest press you off sometimes. It doesn't matter that you've gotten a side control if you can't stay there. So I've learned, you know, not just the shoulder pressure, but I think it's with the diaphragm. I just learned how to make my body as heavy as I can possibly make it. One is not being on the knees, Keisha.
Ooh.
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 She'll know.
She's the most petite 9,000 pound person I've ever known. So,
only in jiu-jitsu people can tell you you're really heavy and you're not like, hey,
offended.
I'm about to jack you up.
This is true.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah,
I did something good today.
Yeah.
I'm heavy.
That's facts. That's absolutely
It
facts.
is. It's facts.
But maybe it comes from your inner Thunderbird.
Maybe it is the inner Thunderbird.
Which I gotta ask. The Thunderbird program and you know, kind of system that you've created. Talk to us about that, because that's something, I mean, I checked out the website, which you guys should, at thunderbirdfitness.net. But what is Thunderbird Fitness?
Well, I mean, Thunderbird Fitness is me. Thunderbird is a special, you know, is a name that I came up with. It does have a meaning behind it. I've always been connected, you know, to Native American culture, spirit. So, you know, I've always been in alignment with that. And then a very good friend of mine, who has since passed, had gone on a trip one time and brought me back a Thunderbird, little piece of leather with a Thunderbird on it. And it was really special. And after he passed, I was thinking, you know, and he was one of the reasons that I had started in fitness, and then I got out of it because it was hard and it was a grind. I was like, I don't know, you know, I was having a hard time. So I had a couple classes, was trying to get certified when I first got it. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. I really needed more income. So I had a moment in time where I started working a regular job again. I was doing some manual labor job, and then he passed. And when he passed, you know, I just had a conversation with myself about how I really need to do something, do what I feel in my heart, you know, that I want to do. So take a chance and do it. And I did. So that's where the Thunderbird came from. I kind of named it after him, in honor of him. And from there, you know, I became a personal trainer, got certified through NASM. And I've been teaching, like, that was probably 8 years ago. I started out teaching cardio kickboxing at Title Boxing, and I love it because I do love to punch things. So it was great, you know, and you get to run around and yell at people and be enthusiastic. So started there, got my certifications, and I think it was a purple belt at the time. I started doing self-defense seminars there. With a friend of mine, a teammate, Anna. We started doing some together, and we had continued to do those in Atlanta together up until a couple years ago. But anyway, so Thunderbirds evolved from that, where I've just continued to coach. I went to the UFC gym, and it's just evolved into what it is now. I'm here. You know, I kind of went through a phase in 2020 where I lost a lot of my income. Gyms were not something that were open. I lost my income in Atlanta, both jobs, teaching jiu-jitsu. I was still able to train some clients via Zoom. And then, you know, at the time, that's kind of what led to me coming down here to Florida, is that having to rebuild everything and knowing that I've always wanted to live here, that, you know, and the realization of how short life could be, is no better time than now to make that happen. So now Thunderbird's here, and I'm trying to get it going here. Like I said, just get my name out down here. I miss everybody at home terribly, for sure. I wish I could have brought, and I'm still working on trying to get them here. It's a secret plan, like trying to get everybody down here. But I'm teaching fitness. I teach group fitness. I'm still training clients via Zoom. I am training some people. I'm training a lady in California. She's got a jiu-jitsu dummy. We're doing jiu-jitsu privates. Like, I love doing jiu-jitsu privates. I just really love helping people find that light in jiu-jitsu, to that spark, like, oh yeah, that. And then right now, my main focus is self-defense. So it's kind of evolved from, I'm still doing all these other things. I'm coaching a little bit here, found a gym here to train at, but I'm really focusing Thunderbird Fitness on self-defense right now. And that's kind of where it's headed.
I love it. I love it. Which, Lobo Loco Alan Roque says, hey, Spirit Warriors unite.
Yes.
And you're even a tougher personal trainer.
Yeah.
Just ask Dana Castillo. So again,
yeah,
shade thrown. So, I'm sorry.
So people go, do you just lay in bed thinking of things to torture us with? Yeah, pretty much. That's what we do.
Yeah, when you say, you describe the whole title boxing experience where you get to yell at people as they run and punch things. I was like, of course, that's what Denise does. That's a perfect fit. You probably didn't even have to do a resume. You're like, I just do these things. Like, all right.
Yeah,
hired.
I love it.
Now,
as a matter of fact, I would teach a cardio kickboxing class in a heartbeat right now. I love teaching it, like maybe one or two, because it's just fun. And it's such a frustration reliever, and people need that.
Yes.
Need that. Like, they just need it so bad.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, she does like to kick things and yell at things as people run. I love it. Which, I mean, in Japan, they have those, like you actually go and pay a place and they have like 99-cent store dishes and you just break them. You just throw them at the wall, whatever.
Yes.
And here's the thing with us humans, right? For people that don't think that you need a little bit of like animal in you, we were never supposed to be like alpha, right? If animals, there are certain jaguars and cheetahs can outrun us, right? Mm-hmm. If gorillas are stronger than us with similar makeup, right? Biologically, and if a whale or a dolphin could breathe on land, we'd be screwed, right? So we were never supposed to be the alpha, but somehow we had enough stuff to kind of get here, right? Mm-hmm. But we have that animalistic side of us inside, and that comes out. Oh, I'm going to screw somebody out of that position. I'm going to pony up to the boss a little bit more. I'm going to, or going down to the bar. I could outdrink you and everything. All of that is that road rage.
Yeah.
That's
before jiu-jitsu, I was a maniac with road rage. I'm serious. It was ridiculous. I got upset with myself. I can't even like myself right now. I'm so, it was just so, yeah, I'll tell you what, I think if the world had more jiu-jitsu, if more people did things like that for themselves, we'd be in a lot better place. Like, it's just undeniable what it does. And again, like, I feel like there's times that so many hard times I've been through over the past 12 years since I've been in jiu-jitsu that if I didn't have it, I don't know where I'd be. Honestly, like, I really don't. I don't know mentally where I'd be, coping mechanisms where I'd be. Like, jiu-jitsu is just amazing. And it might not be jiu-jitsu for somebody. It might be golf. It might be, but find something. It might be boxing. It might be karate. It might be taekwondo. Whatever it is, people need an outlet. I agree.
Absolutely. And I mean, speaking of outlets, don't talk while Professor is teaching.
Yeah,
that's
because martial arts is about respect and discipline. And again, now that is one of the things, tradition wise about jiu-jitsu that I do respect. I like a disciplined class. I'm not about a free for all. Can I cuss?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't like a shit show going on when in a class. You know, I like to be structured. I like people to have respect. I think as a female coach too, it's harder. You have to be more that way because you have to demand that you're going to be respected because you're going to have people that are going to not, or they're going to push it. So yeah, he knows. He knew that would get me like, oh yeah, those things need to be done. Don't be late. Don't talk over.
Dana says she's mentally preparing for a Zoom.
She's probably thinking, James, stop getting Professor fired up.
I know. That's literally it. That's a mercy plea. You know, so I'm just saying. So I won't go there. But Don McGuire wants to know, so how do you define your triangle from your lasso guard? You're tremendous in this aspect.
How do I define it?
Yeah. How did you get there? Like, how did you get like this to this, the transition? Because that's kind of outworldly, but that's super cool.
I mean, it's just so I would, you know, I have to give that to Professor Roberto Traven, Spider Guard. That's 100% the learnings from my professor. You know, Master Traven's nickname was the Spider, and the Spider Guard system, and the Lasso Guard comes from the Spider Guard system. So that's how, I mean, collar sleeve, lasso, that is all Professor Roberto Traven. And it, you know, it works for me because I'm smaller. So with jiu-jitsu, I mean, we could go on for hours and hours about body types and what styles of jiu-jitsu is better for what body types, because there is a thing up to that, you know. And not all of the Spider Guard stuff worked for me that he taught, because I don't have long legs, I'm short, but that Lasso Guard does. And, you know, it's a great controlling mechanism. So it's a really good way to set up your attacks from the bottom.
No, 100%, which James West says, I know better than to get on Mrs. Bad Side, Dana. So there's that. And, and then we got Extra Extreme. Professor Dana told me that she thinks maybe she could probably go a little harder than normal. She just needs that push. So again, Dana, I'm doing? Sorry.
See what they're doing?
Yeah. So you guys are paying for Dana's Zoom session.
Right.
That's what I propose, because she's gonna get it. She's gonna get her money's worth for sure. And ask Professor Denise if she would ever do combat jiu-jitsu.
No, nobody's slapping me. I will straight up punch somebody in the face. That's not happening. No.
Which is funny, because that was Lakeisha's response exactly. Verbatim. No. She's like, hell no.
No, if we're doing that, we're doing MMA.
Yeah.
I mean, why give a silly slap? I think it's silly. I'm not whoever wants to get upset with me, I don't know. Maybe for a little self-defense work, it could give a little realistic feel, but
So here's the thing, and maybe it's because I've got a little knowledge on it, but like literally before LA shut down, one of the last events that I went to was combat jiu-jitsu at the Orpheum in downtown LA. Well, one of the females competing that night was none other than former California state title holder, Brooke Mayo, this is her 135-pound California state title. And her fight with Elvia, man, I'm going to butcher her name, but Elvia, all right? I was sitting in the concourse of the theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
About 7,500, maybe more seat theater, and I could hear the slaps. They were on the stage. That's like a good 300 feet away, and I could feel the slaps, and I was just like, and then I go back, and I was like, hey, how are you? And Brooke lost that night, but she's like, I should have won, and I was like, you did great, because I wouldn't have done any of it.
Right? I know. Yeah, I mean, maybe I need to have a little bit more of an open mind and see it. So, but no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested, because I get fired up if someone digs their elbows, you know, like what I consider the old shit moves, digging the elbows and the thighs. Like I'm going to get really upset with you if you do that to me. So if you slap me, I just don't know if my temper can handle it. Like jiu-jitsu, I know it's easy to control, but like getting slapped, I feel like I might lose control. I just don't know.
To which
it's too much.
They round you up. Lakeisha's laughing. Dana's ha ha here. And again, Miss Lisa, same response. When Keisha was asked this, hell no. No slapping.
No. Most people are like, no.
Yeah, we're all going to jail for Professor. See what you done did is what I'm saying.
I know, right?
And there you go again with Miss. I didn't. Miss Lisa,
you got him.
Let the record state. I didn't. Somebody did it in the comments. I just read it. Don't kill the messenger. That's what I'm saying. You got
them all fired up with the slap.
Yeah, I was like, not me. So you're gonna
have combat jiu-jitsu with Keisha's family.
That's it. Long distance dedication. It's gonna be Art LeBeau all over again. So I'm gonna pivot, and how I'm gonna pivot is with Don McGuire's question. Do you feel that professors that don't compete can give the same type of knowledge and mindset as those professors that do compete to their students?
Not the same, no. But I do feel that they can give them knowledge. However, I feel that to experience it gives you firsthand knowledge of what it feels like. So if I'm going to tell my student, it's okay, everybody feels this way, but I've never done it. That doesn't really, I don't feel like they're going to take much stock in that, Not to say, though, that someone who's never competed couldn't be an amazing coach. I just feel like, for me, yes, it has given me an edge, especially as a master, too, because a lot of my students are masters. I go, okay, yes, I'm 50 years old, 51 years old. This is what I've done to get to where I'm at. This is what I had to do, So I do feel like it does help give them an edge and a little bit different understanding. But I think that there's also plenty of coaches that haven't competed that are probably great at leading their students in competition, And it's hard to do both. Honestly, I feel like if you're doing both at the same time, it can be a little challenging. At least, something's going to be sacrificed because you can't give 100% to both. For example, the times that I've gone out and competed in Vegas and my students came with me too, and I'm coaching for 3-4 days, I'm tired. It takes a lot out of you to be at a venue like that and, day after day, and then to go out and perform yourself.
Yeah, it's a different headspace that you got into multiple times over a course of a weekend. I mean, I just saw Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but it's probably worse than that.
Yeah, right. But I do feel like I know when I have a certain sense of confidence when I tell them this is what you need to do, that they trust me. If I tell them you need to drill 2 times a week, you need to be rolling at least 3 or 4 times a week, you need to be keeping your diet on point, you need to do this. That comes from that experience of doing it and the weight cuts and things like that.
No, 1,000%. Almost, as you were explaining it to me, it was almost like, I don't know, going out for a barbecue, right? Going out for the barbecue, you've got all the fixings. For people that want hamburgers, you got buns for the hamburgers, you got lettuce, you've got the condiments and everything, but somebody forgot the meat, right? And you still try to go ahead and have your cookout, but you're going to have some angry folk, right? Because, again, the main event, the reason why they're there is to kind of get some meat or veggie alternative, if that's what you're into. No, nothing wrong with that. But you got nothing but the meat of the matter.
Right. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Which Extra Extreme says, you slap her, Mr. Woods? Nope, not gonna. First, that's unacceptable. Second, I ain't stupid enough. So
I know, right?
So I'm saying, but I mean, obviously, Professor Denise, there have been a litany of people, both professionally and personally, that have helped you to the dance where you are now. So let's get some, as the kids say, shout outs out of the way.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, Professor Roberto Traven, who I earned my black belt under. I have much respect for him and love for him and always will. Has helped guide me, gave me great jiu-jitsu. There was Chris Ruiz on Team Roberto Traven. He probably doesn't know this, but I always look up to him and look to be like him. He's somebody I admire a lot, have a lot of respect for. So my mom, of course, she raised me. So love my mom, my family, and all of my students. The most important person behind me right now, and I think something that makes people great is having a good person behind them, is my wife, Nicole. Yeah, so she always encourages me and pushes me and wants me to be the best person I can be. So without that, I think it'd be tough. It really helps to have that. And then I've got some new people in my life. I mean, there's so many people. I'm going to leave people out, and I feel horrible. But I've got Stacy Councilman out in California, who's really helping me and influencing me with self-defense. I'm really passionate about getting that part of my business going. So she's really encouraged me to get that going. My teammate, Anna, love her, all my students. Right now, I can't think of anybody else. Yeah, I should have had that. I should have had names written down.
That's 2020. But what I will say is, if you're in the chat right now and you're subscribed to the According to Woods podcast, I'm just saying you're getting a shout out for me. So Extreme, Miss Lisa, Keisha,
yes,
like all of you guys that are chiming in, and I'm so honored. We're so honored that you took a time out of your Saturday to kind of do this with us, and it's been great. So you're getting shout outs from me, and also Prime Athletics, who sponsored this fine show. You're getting a shout out from me as well. So there's that, and I would be remiss not to mention my guest of the hour, the person with the power, Professor Denise Traven.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, not Traven. I made you a Traven. No. Professor Denise for joining us here at According to Woods, and a shout out to the wifey, Nicole Farmer Houle. Shout out to Nicole.
And I also shout out to the new gym that I'm at. I'm really happy and think this place, super impressed with this place. Mastermind MMA Academy in Pinellas Park, Florida. Yes, exactly right. When I was looking for a gym, that was what led me to that gym, and I didn't try any other gym. So that's where I'm at. And, I think that Professor Jason Jimenez and his wife, Alma, own the gym. And I'm super excited to be part of that and help them grow that gym. And I want to give them a shout out because they've been very welcoming to me and very respectful. And I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Huge shout out to Nicole. Y'all embody says you too. And Nicole, this smiley face.
Embody is Nicole.
Oh, there you go. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to you. And then last but the very not least, last question. At the end of the night, when the gym is empty and you look over your shoulder at the mat on your way out, what reflection do you see in yourself? But not just as a professor, but as a woman in your walk, says Don McGuire.
What reflection do I see of myself?
Yeah.
Someone who gave everything they had walking out that door.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
I was very grateful to be there. Yeah, every time.
Every time.
Every time.
12-year odyssey.
12 years.
Yeah.
I know. Wow.
Crazy to say, but what isn't crazy and what you guys should do, in addition to going to subscribe to According to Woods, but you should go ahead, if you don't already do so, follow Denise. So Denise, Professor Denise, where can people find you and Thunderbird Fitness on social media and the interwebs?
Yeah, so you can find me at thunderbirdfitness.net. That's my website. So you can find me there. You can communicate with me there. I am on Instagram at Thunderbird_fitness. So there. And then Facebook, I think you just look up my name, Denise Houle. I'm in a gi. Be hard to miss me. There's not a lot of people that look like me. I have a different look. So okay. You can find me there. And that's about all I have in terms of social media. But Instagram, Facebook. I have also still have Elevate Jiu-Jitsu mag going. You can find me there. They haven't been very active with that lately, but we have Elevate Jiu-Jitsu mag. And that also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And then Thunderbird Fitness is on Facebook as well. And Jiu-Jitsu.
I love it. I followed her. You guys should too. And before we go, we got some last comments coming in. Someone that is leading the way in many, many people's lives and vastly improving said lives.
Thank you. Love you.
And Embody says she is the strongest woman I know. To which Extreme says, Embody, you two together, teamwork is the dream work.
That's right.
Love John and smiley faces. But thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. Thank you, Professor Denise, for joining us and sharing your story. And I can't wait to see where you, your spouse, as well as Thunderbird Fitness is going to be. So we're going to go ahead and check and see what's going on and see what we can do to kind of help the craft go along. Your story is incredible. So thank you for allowing us to hear it and me to share it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. And again,
all right.
Go ahead and follow Thunderbird Fitness on all of the social medias, as well as bookmarking thunderbirdfitness.net in your YouTube browser or your Google machine, whatever you use the internet, and subscribe to According to Woods on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. But don't take my word for it. Here's Professor Z.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According